Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Recently, I reconnected with somebody. It wasn't a long-term reconnection like years or anything like that. It may have been 3 or 4 months. I hadn't heard from this particular individual, and we connected via email and just a touching base. Hey, how you doing? Their response to me was, yeah, I've got a new position and I'm working on a new 30-second commercial. And I got to thinking about that. I have a lot of commentary on 30-second commercials, elevator pitches as some people will call them. And I know some of you out there are probably rolling your eyes and like, oh my gosh, I hate 30-second commercials. I hate the notion of elevator pitches. And I understand what you're saying. You know, in your mind, you equate those to the person who's got that pitch, right? I mean, it's just like, okay, here's the 30 seconds, and it's going to end with when are we going to do business, Tuesday or Thursday? And I'm not really talking about that sort of a 30-second commercial. When I say 30-second commercial, or I talk about an elevator pitch, what I'm really alluding to is the notion that if somebody asks what it is that you do, you have to have a response. I mean, you just do. You can't, when somebody says, hey, well, what do you do? You know, we're at a networking event, or you're at a social, or, maybe it's just kind of a random Zoom call that's been set up by meeting somebody on LinkedIn. Somebody at some point is going to wonder, what is it that you do? And you can't just sort of play that off as, well, I'm not going to say, or I'm trying to think how you would even go about that. It would just, in my mind, it would be more detrimental to not have an answer than to have an answer, right? Think about it. You would just sound silly. No, I'm just, I've heard people, I don't want to talk about me. I just want to talk about you. That just sounds weird. Why don't you want to talk about yourself? Why don't you want to respond as to what it is that you do? I'm sure there's a reason of some sort. It's, why somebody might not want to. I just can't think of a good reason why. That doesn't sound, hey, I'm in transition. Okay, that's fair. That's an answer. What did you do? What do you want to do? But I think sooner or later, there's got to be some sort of response to it, and I term those things as 30-second commercials. Talking about who you are, what you do, what sort of help are you looking for. Those are kind of the elements of a 30-second commercial, and I think of having a response is important. So I do have thoughts on it. And how you should respond, and I could devote episode after episode, and I will in time devote a lot of this, and I have. There's lots of episodes out there on elevator pitches and how to promote yourself. But when this person responded to me and said, hey, I'm working on a new 30-second commercial, my initial response was, a new 30-second commercial, A as in one, singular. And that's where I had an issue with it, is that when you develop commercials, elevator pitches, you shouldn't just limit yourself to one pitch or to one commercial. I shouldn't call it a pitch, elevator pitch. I guess that's where it sounds bad. It's in an elevator, an elevator talk, 30 seconds, 30-second commercial. But you shouldn't limit yourself to one. And I know lots of people want to. They want to spend all their time working on that one thing that encompasses all of who they are. And I have been guilty of this. I've been guilty of just, talking about the one thing, just trying to, and I do have a basic one, sure, but I found that in time, your basic one, the jack of all trades sort of a talk is a master of none. In a lot of cases, it does nothing. So when you're trying to say something that encompasses everybody, you in a way encompass nobody. It's much like politics. I'm not going to get political here, but the politician who comes in and tries to appease everybody really ends up alienating everybody, because everybody kind of feels like, well, wait a minute, they weren't really talking to me. Or, well, I heard a little bit that I liked, but I also heard that they like somebody else, or like something else, or something I disagree with. And so, trying to encompass everything all in that one little 30-second commercial is really a fool's errand, right? I mean, just, there's nothing you can say that's going to fit all the situations. There just isn't. So I'm a fan of having multiple 30-second commercials, lots of 30-second commercials, lots of different ways that you talk about yourself, because you are in different settings, and one size does not fit all. For me, with AmSpirit, I have, I'm coming up with different things to say depending upon who I'm talking to. And, I need to be good at all of those things. I can't just have the one that I'm really good at and the other ones that I just kind of, sort of phone in or mail in when I have the opportunity to say them. I've got to be good at all of them. So I'm an advocate of people having multiple 30-second commercials, if you will, elevator talks, having multiple ones. So I want to kind of work through some examples here, not too much detail. I mean, there are umpteen different professions, and every profession has umpteen different sorts of angles on this. But let's focus on financial advisors. Well, I've struggled with that. We're going to focus on financial advisors, mainly because many people understand what they're about, but I'll just use them as an example of, okay, here's a way that you can craft different commercials. Obviously, they're going to want to have a commercial that's going to be geared towards prospective clients or getting referrals for prospective clients. I don't think that that's so unreasonable to have one for that. But then they may have another commercial for trying to communicate with centers of influence, people that aren't going to be their client necessarily, or they're not looking for their client, but people that they can kind of be networking with. So, for example, a financial advisor might have a different way of defining themselves to an accountant or an attorney or maybe a banker than they would to a prospective client. Makes sense, right? So they're going to want at least two of those. Let's go back to the prospective client one, right? Prospective client, it's going to depend upon who they're talking to, right? So if the financial advisor is talking to that young couple with young kids, that financial advisor, be it he or she, is going to want to have a commercial, may want to talk about things related to college savings. It's fair. That's really the pain point, a reasonable pain point for somebody with young kids. How are we going to pay for college? If they're having a conversation with somebody who's just out of college, looking to get started, they're going to have a different conversation. They're going to have a different sort of a 30-second commercial, right? They're not going to want to be talking about college savings. Geez, I just finished college. I'm not even dating anybody. Kids aren't even on the horizon. Might come quick. It does come faster than you think. But right now I'm just worried about getting started. I don't want to hear about college savings. It's, to me, that's white noise. I remember when I was working, just gotten out of college, I wasn't dating anybody, and they were coming out with these 529 plans, or the predecessors to them. Double E savings bonds, I think they were. I didn't care. They just weren't on my radar. It's like owning a brand new car, and buying cars just isn't just something you're interested in. It's not on your radar. So that'd be the second thing with respect to prospective clients. There's college savings, and then there's getting started, and then the other end, talking to somebody who's in their late 50s, and about retirement and how that's all going to be positioned. That would be a different 30-second commercial. So you can probably go on and on with respect to prospective clients, all along that spectrum for a financial advisor. And they're going to want to have something that really speaks to all of those things, because if you're talking to the people with young children and you're talking, you trying to mix in their retirement, they don't care about that at that point. They care about getting their kids through college. They want to start there. Now, once you kind of get a foothold with that, then you can kind of talk to them about, we could also be doing some stuff for retirement, but you're not going to want to try and pitch everything or talk about everything in that one 30-second commercial. Likewise, with respect to centers of influence, you're probably going to want to have a different sort of a 30-second commercial if you're talking to an attorney as opposed to talking to a CPA or a banker. So you might have three there that you're going to have, because the pain points or what interests them or what you can kind of bring to the relationship is going to differ from person to person. The CPA might be more interested in what kind of reporting comes out of your financial practices firm, your financial advising firm, whereas the attorney is going to be more interested in things related to estate planning, and your thoughts on that. And different financial advisors approach it very differently. Some are into mutual funds and investing in the stock market, and some are really all about annuities and insurances. And that drastically changes how the estate planning documents might look. So anyhow, so different commercials. But if you're a financial advisor, you might be prone to also be doing programs, to kind of become a thought leader out there. So you might want to have a 30-second commercial with respect to that, talking about the things that you do, things you want to be doing, where you could be getting out there and speaking. Might have different ones with respect to that. You might be looking to grow the financial services practice. And so you might have a 30-second commercial talks about recruiting new advisors. Or I hear a lot of advisors now, they're looking to purchase practices. So that's a different, those are two separate 30-second commercials right there. That you depending upon who the audience is. And you have to be able to, as they, read the room. You have to know who you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody who's fresh out of college and, they're an art history major, they're probably not somebody that you're going to want to talk to about becoming a financial advisor. Maybe, but it doesn't seem reasonable. You're better off talking to the finance major, the accounting major, somebody like that, who's got that background. But that person you might want to talk to about getting started. And these are the things we do to get people started. But it's a matter of knowing who you're talking to before you're deploying whatever the appropriate 30-second commercial is. You might even have a 30-second commercial for when you're talking to competitors. Depending on how you position yourself differently. I'm not something at hey, we're the best, we're better than you. I'm not talking about anything like that. But they're not going to be a client. They may not be a center of influence. They may not be looking to send people to your programs. But you just might want to have a different way of profiling what you're about. Financial advisor, been with this, been doing it for years. I chose this firm because of X. That's all you need to say. But it would be something different. Again, you're not going to not have a response when somebody comes to you. So the point in all of this is the best 30-second commercial. Well, there is no best 30-second commercial is really what it boils down to. The best 30-second commercial is the one that fits the circumstances the best. But you need to be ready because those circumstances will change. And I advocate that people take the time, think through it, think through kind of a template as to how they want to talk about themselves. and I could devote a whole series on organizing and becoming clear with respect to your 30-second commercials. But you're going to want to have multiple 30-second commercials. Whoever you are out there, you're going to want to have multiple 30-second commercials. And I run into this from time to time. Hey, we only sell one thing. Yeah, you may only sell one thing, but you sell it to lots of different people for different types of reasons. So, think about your business. But the best 30-second commercial is the one that fits the situation appropriately.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.